Aging is a natural process that everyone goes through. However, not everyone ages in the same way. Some people manage to maintain a youthful appearance, enduring health, and an optimistic spirit even as the years go by. What is their secret? It lies in healthy aging, a way of life that enables us to enjoy every stage of life to the fullest. In this article, we will explore the golden principles of healthy aging from the perspectives of science, nutrition, psychology, physical activity, and lifestyle. Chapter 1: The Awakening. 1.1. The Shadows of Aging. The early morning light filtered through the thin curtains of Hoa's small wooden home, highlighting the faint lines etched across her face. At 50 years old, Hoa felt like her body was betraying her. Every joint ached as she slowly got out of bed, her knees creaking like the old wooden floorboards beneath her. A sharp pain shot through her lower back, forcing her to pause and catch her breath. "Another day of this," she muttered, her voice filled with resignation. For years, Hoa had ignored the signs of aging. She believed it was natural to grow weaker, to lose the energy she once had as a young woman. But now, it was more than just a loss of vitality. The aches and pains consumed her daily life, making even the simplest tasks, like carrying a bucket of water from the well or kneading dough for bread, feel insurmountable. Her family had noticed her struggles. Her eldest son, Tan, had suggested she visit a doctor in the city, but Hoa waved him off, claiming she didn't have the time or money for such luxuries. "It's just old age," she said dismissively. But deep down, she felt a growing sense of despair. Was this all there was to life after 50? To live in a body that no longer obeyed her will? To feel like a burden to her family? 1.2. The Turning Point. One humid afternoon, Hoa was in her garden, weeding the small plot of vegetables she had tended for years. The sun was merciless, and sweat dripped down her temples. As she bent over to pull out a particularly stubborn weed, her back gave out. She cried out in pain, collapsing onto the soft, damp soil. For a moment, she lay there, staring at the cloudless sky, feeling utterly defeated. Her daughter-in-law, Mai, rushed to her side. "Mi, are you okay?" Mai's voice was laced with concern. Together, they managed to help Hoa back into the house, where she sank onto the old rattan chair by the window. "I'm fine," Hoa said weakly, but tears welled up in her eyes. Mai didn't press further. She simply placed a glass of water on the table and left the room, giving Hoa the space she needed. As Hoa stared out the window at the garden she loved so much, she felt an overwhelming sense of loss. It wasn't just her body that was failing her. It was her sense of purpose. Gardening had always been her joy, her escape, but now even that was slipping away. That evening, her granddaughter, Han, came to visit. Han, who had recently returned from studying abroad, brought with her a new perspective on life. "Bah, you know, in the country where I studied, people your age are climbing mountains, learning new skills, and enjoying life. Age is just a number," she said with a bright smile. Hoa chuckled bitterly. "That's easy to say when you're young and strong, but when your knees feel like they're made of glass, and your memory fails you, it's a different story." Han took her grandmother's hand and squeezed it gently. "Bah, I don't think it's about being young or strong. It's about how you take care of yourself, your body, your mind, and your spirit. There's this place I visited, a pagoda, where they teach people how to live mindfully and stay healthy, no matter their age. Maybe you could go there, just for a day, to see what it's like." Hoa hesitated. The idea of going to a pagoda felt foreign to her. Though she had grown up with Buddhist traditions, they had always been in the background of her life, a place for prayer during festivals or funerals, not a source of personal transformation. 1.3. The First Visit to the Pagoda. A week later, after much persuasion from Han, Hoa found herself standing at the gates of the pagoda. The air was crisp and cool, carrying the faint scent of incense. The pagoda was nestled at the base of a mountain, surrounded by lush greenery. The sound of wind chimes and the gentle rustling of leaves created an atmosphere of tranquility. Hoa's initial apprehension melted away as a young monk greeted her with a warm smile. "Welcome, Chi. You must be Han's grandmother. She spoke highly of you," he said. Bowing slightly, Hoa was led to the main hall, where the abbot, Venerable Tri Quang, was giving a talk. His voice was calm yet commanding, resonating through the hall as he spoke about impermanence. "Life is like a flowing river," he said. "It changes constantly, never remaining the same. We age, we grow, and eventually, we return to the earth. But within that impermanence lies the beauty of life." The words struck a chord deep within Hoa. She realized she had been clinging to the past, the days when she was strong and capable, without accepting the natural flow of life. After the talk, Tri Quang approached Hoa. "You seem troubled. Chi, would you like to share your thoughts?" For the first time in years, Hoa opened up. She spoke of her fears, her frustrations, and her longing for a sense of purpose. Tri Quang listened intently, nodding occasionally. When she finished, he said, "Your pain is real, but it is also a teacher. It is here to guide you back to yourself." 1.4. The first lesson, compassion for herself. Tri Quang invited Hoa to join a small meditation session that afternoon. "We will begin with loving-kindness meditation," he explained. "It's a practice of cultivating compassion, first for yourself, and then for others." As Hoa sat cross-legged on the cool marble floor, she struggled to focus. Her knees throbbed, and her thoughts raced. But Tri Quang's gentle voice guided her back. "Repeat after me, silently in your mind. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering." First, the words felt hollow. Hoa had spent so many years criticizing herself for not being strong enough, for not doing enough. That self-compassion felt foreign. But as she repeated the phrases, something began to shift. Tears rolled down her cheeks, not from sadness, but from a sense of release. For the first time, she allowed herself to feel kindness toward her own body and mind. 1.5. The seed of change. When Hoa returned home that evening, she felt lighter. The pain in her body hadn't disappeared, but her perspective had shifted. She realized she didn't have to fight against aging. Instead, she could learn to live harmoniously with it. Over the next few weeks, Hoa began incorporating small changes into her daily life. She started each morning with 5 minutes of meditation, focusing on her breath and repeating the loving-kindness phrases. She also began to eat more mindfully, savoring each bite instead of rushing through her meals. One day, as she stood in her garden, she noticed something she hadn't seen in years: the delicate beauty of a single bloom. The vibrant pink petals swayed gently in the breeze, a reminder that life's beauty often lies in its simplicity. 1.6. The path ahead. Hoa's visit to the pagoda was just the beginning. The experience had planted a seed, a desire to explore not only how to care for her body, but also how to nurture her spirit. She began visiting the pagoda regularly, each time learning something new from Tri Quang and the other monks. As she immersed herself in Buddhist practices, she started to see her struggles not as obstacles but as opportunities for growth. The pain in her knees became a reminder to slow down and listen to her body. Her forgetfulness taught her to live in the present moment, appreciating each memory as it came. Unbeknownst to her, this journey of self-discovery would transform not only her own life, but also the lives of those around her. The lessons she learned would ripple outward, touching her family, her community, and even strangers who would come to hear her story. Chapter 2: First Steps into Buddhist Practice. 2.1. Cultivating compassion for oneself and others. Hoa's first visit to the pagoda awakened something within her, a small but undeniable spark of hope. It was the first time in years she felt that her suffering had meaning beyond the pain itself. Inspired by Venerable Tri Quang's teachings, she decided to return to the pagoda the following week. When she arrived, the abbot greeted her warmly. "You've come back, Chi Hoa. That's a wonderful sign," he said with a smile. He led her to the meditation hall, where a group of novices and lay practitioners were gathering. "Today, we will explore the practice of metta bhavana, loving-kindness meditation," Tri Quang explained. "Loving-kindness begins with yourself. Only when you can cultivate compassion for your own being can you truly extend it to others. Hoa listened intently as he guided the group through the practice, his voice calm and steady. Repeat these phrases silently in your heart. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering. Hoa closed her eyes and repeated the words. First, felt strange. How could she wish herself well when her body was riddled with pain, and her mind was clouded with regret? But as the practice continued, she began to feel a warmth spreading through her chest. The mantra was like a balm, soothing wounds she hadn't even realized were there. The next step, Tri Quang explained, was to extend this compassion outward. Think of someone you love, perhaps a family member or a friend. Repeat the phrases for them. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. Hoa immediately thought of her granddaughter, Han, whose bright spirit had encouraged her to seek change. She visualized Han's radiant smile and felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Then, Tri Quang added a final challenge. Now, think of someone who has caused you pain, or someone you find difficult to love. Wish them the same. Hoa's breath caught. Her mind wandered to her estranged brother, Kwa, with whom she had not spoken in over a decade. Their falling out over an inheritance dispute had left deep scars. She hesitated, but Tri Quang's words echoed in her mind. To forgive is to set yourself free. Slowly, she whispered, May you be well. Kwa, may you be happy. May you be free from suffering. When the meditation ended, Hoa opened her eyes, feeling a profound sense of lightness. It wasn't as though all her pain had vanished, but for the first time, she felt she was beginning to heal, not just physically but emotionally as well. 2.2. The morning meditation ritual. Encouraged by her experience at the pagoda, Hoa decided to bring a piece of the practice into her daily life. She woke up early the next morning, before the rest of the household stirred, and created a small meditation corner in her bedroom. She placed a simple cushion on the floor and lit a stick of incense. Following Tri Quang's instructions, Hoa began with mindful breathing. She sat cross-legged, her hands resting gently on her knees, and focused on the sensation of air entering and leaving her nostrils. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile, she repeated silently. First, her thoughts wandered. She worried about the day's chores, her aching knees, and whether her son Tan would argue with her again about her visits to the pagoda. But whenever her mind drifted, she gently brought her attention back to her breath, as Tri Quang had taught her. After a few minutes, she transitioned to loving-kindness meditation. She began with herself. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering. Then, she thought of each family member, wishing them the same. Even when her mind hesitated over her brother Kwa, she persisted. By the end of her meditation, Hoa felt calmer, more centered. It wasn't a miraculous transformation, but it was a start. She resolved to make this practice a daily ritual, a moment of stillness amidst the chaos of life. 2.3. The shift toward mindful eating. During her next visit to the pagoda, Tri Quang spoke about the interconnectedness of all beings and the importance of mindful consumption. What you eat becomes a part of you, he explained. Choose food that nourishes not only your body but also your mind and soul. Eat with gratitude, aware of the effort and resources that brought the meal to your plate. Hoa reflected on her usual meals, heavy with meats and fried dishes. Though they were comforting, they often left her feeling sluggish. Inspired by Tri Quang's words, she decided to make changes. That evening, she prepared a simple meal: steamed vegetables, tofu, and a bowl of brown rice. As she sat down to eat, she followed the monk's guidance. Pause before eating. Hoa took a moment to acknowledge the food before her. She visualized the farmers who had grown the vegetables, the merchants who had brought them to the market, and her own hands that had cooked them. Chew mindfully. Instead of rushing through her meal, she chewed each bite slowly, savoring the flavors and textures. Express gratitude. After finishing, she silently thanked the earth, the people, and the effort that had made her meal possible. Over time, This simple act of mindful eating became one of Hoa's favorite practices. Not only did it improve her digestion, but it also deepened her connection to the world around her. She began experimenting with plant-based recipes, incorporating more fruits, vegetables, and whole grains into her diet. 2.4. The community at the pagoda. As Hoa continued her visits to the pagoda, she became part of a small but supportive community of lay practitioners. They came from all walks of life: farmers, teachers, shopkeepers, but shared a common desire to live more mindfully. Together, they attended Dharma talks, practiced meditation, and participated in communal meals. One afternoon, while sitting in the shade of a banyan tree, Hoa shared her story with the group. She spoke of her struggles with aging, her initial reluctance to change, and the small steps she had taken since meeting Tri Quang. An elderly farmer named Ba nodded in agreement. "I used to think my back pain was just something I had to endure," he said. "But since coming here, I've learned to see it as my body's way of asking for care. Now, I treat it with kindness instead of frustration." Their conversations became a source of encouragement for Hoa. She realized she wasn't alone in her journey and that others, too, were navigating their own paths toward healing and self-discovery. 2.5. Small changes, big shifts. Over the next few months, Hoa's life began to change in subtle but profound ways. Her body. The combination of mindful eating and morning meditation helped reduce her aches and pains. Her energy levels improved, and she found herself more willing to take on small tasks in the garden. Her mind. The practice of loving-kindness meditation softened her thoughts toward herself and others. She noticed she was less reactive, more patient, and more forgiving. Her spirit. Spending time at the pagoda and engaging with the community brought a sense of connection and purpose that she hadn't felt in years. One evening, as she sat in her garden watching the sun set, Hoa felt a quiet sense of joy. She still had a long way to go, but for the first time, she believed in the possibility of living well, both in body and spirit, regardless of her age. Chapter 3: Facing Challenges. 3.1. Skepticism from family. Hoa's newfound habits did not go unnoticed by her family. First, they were mildly amused by her early morning meditations and the fragrant meals of steamed vegetables and tofu. But as her visits to the pagoda became more frequent, whispers began to circulate around the dinner table. One evening, her son Tan spoke up, his tone a mix of concern and frustration. "Me, you've been spending so much time at the pagoda lately. Are you sure this is the right thing for you? You're not as young as you used to be. What if you overdo it?" Hoa paused, her chopsticks hovering over her bowl of rice. She had anticipated this moment but hadn't quite prepared for it. "Tan, I understand your concern," she said gently, "but this isn't about doing too much. It's about learning how to live better, how to take care of myself so that I can continue to care for you and the family." Her words were met with silence. Tan wasn't convinced, but he didn't argue further. Later that night, Hoa confided in her granddaughter, Han, who had always been her ally in this journey. "Ba, don't worry about them," Han said, squeezing her hand. "Sometimes people don't understand what they haven't experienced themselves. Just keep doing what feels right for you." Hoa nodded, grateful for Han's encouragement. But the conversation with Tan lingered in her mind. It reminded her that transformation, no matter how personal, often ripples outward, impacting those around us in ways we can't predict. 3.2. A health setback. Not long after, Hoa experienced her first major test. One morning, as she bent down to pick vegetables from her garden, a sharp pain shot through her lower back. She gasped, clutching her side, and sank onto the soft earth. The pain was so intense that she couldn't move for several minutes. Her daughter-in-law, Mai, found her and quickly helped her back into the house. "You need to rest," Mai said firmly, arranging a pillow behind Hoa's back. For days, Hoa remained confined to her chair, her movements limited and her spirits low. She felt as though all her progress had been undone. The thought of visiting the pagoda or practicing her morning meditations felt like an impossible dream. When word of her condition reached Venerable Tri Quang, he came to visit her. Sitting beside her, he asked, "How are you feeling?" Chi Hoa. Hoa sighed deeply. "I feel like I've failed. I've been trying so hard to take care of myself, but now my body is worse than ever." Tri Quang shook his head gently. "Pain is not failure, Chi. It is your body's way of speaking to you. It's asking for attention, for care. Our task is not to fight pain but to learn from it." He guided her through a short meditation, encouraging her to focus on her breath and bring awareness to the area of discomfort. When you feel pain, instead of resisting, try saying to yourself, "I see you. I hear you. I am here for you." Though the practice felt strange at first, Hoa noticed a subtle shift. The pain didn't disappear, but it became less overwhelming. It was as though her body had been waiting for her acknowledgement. 3.3. Resilience through practice. As the days turned into weeks, Hoa slowly recovered. Her back pain subsided, though she remained cautious with her movements. The setback had humbled her, reminding her that healing was not a linear journey, but it also deepened her commitment to her practices. She returned to the pagoda, where Tri Quang introduced her to yoga and gentle stretching exercises tailored for her age and condition. These movements, combined with her daily meditations, became a cornerstone of her routine. One day, during a group discussion at the pagoda, Hoa shared her experience. "I used to think pain was something to be avoided at all costs," she said. "But now I see it as a teacher. It's shown me where I need to slow down, where I need to listen." Her words resonated deeply with the other practitioners, many of whom were also navigating the challenges of aging and health. The sense of community strengthened Hoa's resolve. She realized she wasn't alone in her struggles, and that her journey could inspire others to persevere. 3.4. Bridging the gap with family. Back at home, Hoa noticed subtle changes in her family's attitude. Tan, though still skeptical, began to ask her questions about her practices. Mai started incorporating some of Hoa's plant-based recipes into their meals. Even her youngest grandson, a rambunctious 8-year-old, once joined her for a short meditation session, giggling as he tried to sit still. One evening, as the family gathered for dinner, Tan looked across the table at his mother. "Me," he said hesitantly, "I don't fully understand what you're doing at the pagoda, but I can see that it's helping you, and if it helps you, then I support it." Hoa felt a lump in her throat. She reached out and touched his hand. "Come on, Tan, that means more to me than you know." 3.5. A renewed sense of purpose. The challenges Hoa faced only solidified her belief in the path she was walking. She saw each obstacle as an opportunity to deepen her understanding and practice of mindfulness. Her setbacks, rather than deterring her, became stepping stones toward resilience. As she continued her journey, Hoa began to think about how she could share what she had learned, not only with her family but also with her community. She envisioned a future where people of all ages could come together to practice mindfulness, support one another, and embrace the beauty of aging with grace. Little did she know, this vision would soon become a reality, setting the stage for the next chapter of her life. Chapter 4. Becoming a beacon of inspiration. 4.1. A quiet revolution at home. The changes in Hoa's daily life began subtly, but they were impossible for her family to ignore. Tan, her eldest son, who had always been practical to the point of skepticism, couldn't help but notice how much more energetic and at peace his mother seemed. He had grown used to her groaning about joint pain or falling asleep on the wooden chair by the kitchen. But now, she moved with purpose, even humming to herself as she prepared meals. "Me, you've been different lately," Tan remarked one evening, his tone tinged with curiosity. "It's like you're glowing. What's changed?" Hoa paused from stirring the vegetable soup, a smile playing at her lips. "I've been taking care of myself, Tan, and not just my body, my mind too." Tan raised an eyebrow but said nothing. In truth, he didn't fully understand what his mother meant, but he couldn't deny the results. Her daughter-in-law, Mai, however, was more open-minded. She had noticed how much lighter Hoa seemed, not just in energy but in spirit. Mai began asking Hoa for advice, starting with cooking. "Me, how do you make your meals taste so good but feel so light?" she asked one afternoon. "It's not just about the ingredients," Hoa replied, sprinkling a pinch of salt into the pot. "It's about cooking with intention. When you pour your love into the food, it becomes nourishing in more ways than one." Over time, Mai began adopting some of Hoa's practices. She joined her for morning meditations and even started preparing plant-based meals for the family. The children, too, became curious, especially when Hoa taught them a simple breathing exercise to help them focus on their homework. Even Tan, ever the skeptic, found himself drawn into Hoa's world. He began noticing the moments when she quietly excused herself to meditate or the way she responded calmly in situations that once would have frustrated her. Though he didn't say it out loud, Tan began to respect his mother's transformation. 4.2. A gathering beneath the mango tree. The first time Hoa invited her neighbors to join her for meditation, she wasn't sure anyone would come. She had arranged a small circle of cushions under the shade of her old mango tree, the air fragrant with the scent of blooming flowers. To her surprise, 2 women showed up: Lan, a widow who had long battled loneliness, and Thursday, a young mother juggling 3 part-time jobs. "I don't know how to meditate," Thursday confessed, shifting nervously on the cushion. "Neither did I," Hoa reassured her. "It's not about doing it perfectly. It's about showing up and giving yourself a moment to breathe." She guided them through a simple practice, starting with mindful breathing. Focus on the air entering and leaving your nose. If your mind wanders, that's okay. Just gently bring it back to your breath. At the end of the session, Lan's eyes were filled with tears. "I haven't felt this calm in years," she said. Thursday nodded, adding, "It's like I finally gave myself permission to stop for a moment." Word spread quickly about Hoa's meditation circle. The next week, 5 people showed up. By the 3rd week, there were 10, ranging from elderly farmers to young shopkeepers. Hoa's quiet garden became a sanctuary for those seeking peace in their busy lives. 4.3. Navigating challenges as a mentor. As the group grew, so did Hoa's responsibilities. She found herself in the unexpected role of a mentor, guiding others not just through meditation but also through the struggles of their daily lives. One evening, Lan approached Hoa with a heavy heart. "I've been having trouble sleeping," she admitted. "At night, my mind races with worries about my health, my children, everything." Hoa listened intently, then shared a practice she had learned at the pagoda. "Before bed, try writing down everything that's on your mind. Acknowledge each worry, but don't dwell on it. Then, as you lie down, repeat to yourself, 'I am safe. I am at peace.'" Lan followed Hoa's advice, and within weeks, her sleep improved. Encouraged, she became one of Hoa's most vocal supporters, often encouraging others to join the meditation group. But not everyone was as receptive. Some villagers viewed Hoa's gatherings with suspicion, wondering if she was trying to create a new religion or impose her beliefs on others. One man even confronted her at the market, saying, "What's all this talk of mindfulness? Are you trying to make us abandon our traditions?" Hoa remained calm, responding with grace. "Mindfulness isn't about changing who you are. It's about learning to be present and at peace with yourself. It doesn't replace our traditions, it strengthens them." Her humility and sincerity gradually won over even the most skeptical neighbors. 4.4. A village transformed. Hoa's influence began to spread beyond her immediate circle. The head of the village, Mr. Min, took notice of the changes happening in the community. Families were eating healthier meals, neighbors were helping each other more, and the overall atmosphere felt lighter, more harmonious. "Chi Hoa," Mr. Min said one afternoon, "I'd like you to speak at our next village meeting. People need to hear your story." Hoa hesitated. She had never been one for public speaking, but she remembered Tri Quang's words, "By transforming yourself, you inspire others to do the same." At the meeting, Hoa spoke from the heart. She shared her journey of struggling with aging, her discovery of mindfulness, and the small practices that had made a big difference in her life. Her honesty and humility resonated deeply with the audience. By the end of the meeting, several villagers approached her, eager to learn more. The meeting marked a turning point. Hoa's practices became a part of the village's culture. The weekly meditation sessions under the mango tree grew into larger gatherings, and a community garden was established to promote healthy eating. Families began cooking together, sharing meals, and supporting one another in ways they hadn't before. 4.5. A special invitation. One day, Hoa received a message from Venerable Tri Quang. "We are hosting a retreat at the pagoda next month. I believe it would be a wonderful opportunity for you and your group to deepen your practice." Hoa was thrilled. She shared the news with her community, and several members eagerly signed up. The retreat was a transformative experience. Over 3 days, they practiced silence, walking meditation, and mindful eating. They listened to Dharma talks about compassion, impermanence, and interconnectedness. On the final day, Tri Quang delivered a powerful message. "Each of you is like a candle. When you light your own flame, you can light the flames of others, creating a chain of light that illuminates the world." Hoa felt those words deeply. She realized that her journey wasn't just about her own healing. It was about creating a ripple effect that could transform lives far beyond her own. 4.6. A ripple effect. Returning from the retreat, Hoa's group brought new energy and ideas to the village. They organized monthly mindfulness workshops, inviting monks from the pagoda to teach. They started a community kitchen, where families could cook and eat together. Even the children became involved, learning simple mindfulness practices and helping with the garden. Hoa also began mentoring young women, teaching them not just about mindfulness but also about resilience and self-worth. "You are stronger than you think," she often told them. "When you take care of your mind and body, there's nothing you can't overcome." Her efforts didn't go unnoticed. Visitors from neighboring villages came to learn from her. Inspired by the transformation they saw in her community, Hoa was even invited to speak at regional gatherings, where she shared her story and encouraged others to embrace mindfulness and compassion. 4.7. Reflection and gratitude. One evening, as the sun set over the village, Hoa sat beneath her mango tree, reflecting on her journey. She thought about the pain and despair she had felt just a few years ago and how far she had come. Her life was far from perfect, but it was rich with purpose and connection. Looking around at the vibrant community she had helped create, Hoa felt a deep sense of gratitude. She knew that the path she had chosen wasn't easy, but it was worth every step. Chapter 5. Embracing Legacy. 5.1. A Life of Purpose. Years had passed since Hoa first sat beneath her mango tree, unsure if anyone would join her for meditation. Now, as she looked out at the vibrant community she had helped cultivate, she marveled at how much had changed, not just in herself but in those around her. The village was no longer the quiet, disconnected place it had once been. Neighbors greeted one another with warm smiles, families gathered to share meals, and children played together in the community garden. Hoa's teachings had become a part of daily life, woven into the fabric of the village. Her own days were filled with meaning. Mornings began with her meditation practice, a time for stillness and gratitude. Afternoons were spent mentoring young women, sharing lessons not just about mindfulness but also about resilience and self-worth. Evenings often brought visitors, old friends, curious strangers, and villagers seeking guidance. Hoa had found her purpose, not in grand gestures or achievements, but in the quiet act of sharing what she had learned. She reflected on how far she had come, from a woman who felt trapped by her own body to a teacher who had helped others find freedom in their minds and hearts. 5.2. Teaching the next generation. Hoa understood that true transformation didn't end with her generation. The future lay in the hands of the young, and she was determined to equip them with the tools they needed to thrive. One of her most enthusiastic students was her granddaughter, Han, whose encouragement had sparked Hoa's journey years ago. Now in her 20s, Han had become a passionate advocate for mindfulness, often assisting Hoa during community workshops. "Ba, can we start a group for the younger people in the village?" Han suggested one afternoon as they worked together in the garden. I think they'd really benefit from learning these practices. Hoa smiled. That's a wonderful idea. Ciao. You've always had a gift for bringing people together. With Han's help, they organized weekly gatherings for the youth, teaching them simple mindfulness techniques, like breathing exercises and journaling. The sessions quickly became popular, not just for the practices themselves but also for the sense of community they fostered. One young boy, Due, approached Hoa after a session. "Bah Hoa," he said shyly, "I get nervous before exams, but when I do the breathing exercise you taught us, I feel calmer." "Thank you." Hoa's heart swelled with pride. She knew that these small moments could have a lasting impact, shaping the lives of young people in ways they might not even realize yet. 5.3. Expanding her reach. As word of Hoa's work spread, she began receiving invitations to share her story beyond the village. First, she hesitated. "I'm just a simple woman," she told Han. "What do I have to offer that others don't already know?" But Han encouraged her. "Bah, your story is powerful because it's real. People need to hear that change is possible, no matter where they are in life." Hoa agreed, and with Han by her side, she began traveling to neighboring villages and towns. She spoke at community centers, schools, and temples, sharing her journey and the simple practices that had transformed her life. Each talk was met with gratitude and curiosity, as people saw in her a reflection of their own struggles and hopes. At one gathering, an elderly woman approached Hoa with tears in her eyes. "Chi Hoa, hearing you speak has given me hope. I thought it was too late for me to change, but now I see that it's never too late." Hoa embraced the woman, her heart filled with gratitude. She realized that her story wasn't just her own. It belonged to everyone who had ever felt trapped by their circumstances and longed for a way out. 5.4. Facing new challenges. With her growing influence came new challenges. As her schedule became busier, Hoa struggled to maintain balance. There were days when she felt overwhelmed by the demands on her time and energy. One evening, as she prepared for yet another trip, she felt a familiar ache in her knees. Sitting down heavily, she closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "I've been giving so much to others," she thought. "I need to remember to care for myself, too." Hoa returned to her foundational practices: meditation, mindful eating, and rest. She reminded herself that she didn't have to do everything at once, and that saying no was sometimes the most compassionate choice. With time, she found a rhythm that allowed her to give generously without depleting herself. 5.5. Returning to the pagoda. As the years went by, Hoa felt a pull to return to the place where her journey had begun. She visited the pagoda and was greeted warmly by Venerable Tri Quang. "You've accomplished so much, Chi Hoa," he said, his eyes twinkling with pride. "But tell me, what have you learned through it all?" Hoa thought for a moment before replying. "I've learned that the greatest gift we can give ourselves is compassion. When we care for ourselves with kindness, we create the space to care for others. And when we share that care, we create a ripple effect that can change the world." Tri Quang nodded. "You've understood well. But remember, the journey never ends. Continue to nurture yourself and let your legacy grow naturally. 5.6. Writing her story. Inspired by her visit to the pagoda, Hoa decided to document her journey. With Han's help, she began writing a memoir, a simple but heartfelt account of her transformation. The book, titled Under the Mango Tree, A Journey to Mindfulness and Health, became a cherished resource for those seeking guidance on their own paths. Through her writing, Hoa reached people far beyond her village, sharing her message of hope and resilience with readers from all walks of life. The memoir became not just a record of her experiences, but also a beacon for those who felt lost and unsure of where to begin. 5.7. A celebration of life. As Hoa approached her 70th birthday, the village came together to celebrate her life and contributions. Under the mango tree where it had all begun, friends, family, and neighbors gathered to honor the woman who had transformed not only herself but also her community. Children recited poems they had written about mindfulness, Young women shared stories of how Hoa's mentorship had shaped their lives, and elders expressed their gratitude for the peace and connection she had fostered. Standing beneath the tree, surrounded by laughter and love, Hoa felt a profound sense of fulfillment. "This isn't just my story," she said, addressing the crowd. "It's our story. Each of you has played a part in creating this community, this life, and for that, I thank you." 5.8. A legacy of light. As the years went on, Hoa's work continued to flourish. Her teachings were passed down through generations. Her memoir became a staple in local schools and libraries, and her mango tree remained a gathering place for those seeking solace and wisdom. Though her body grew older, her spirit remained vibrant. Hoa often reflected on the words of Venerable Tri Quang. "Each of us is a candle. By lighting our own flame, we illuminate the path for others." And so, Hoa's legacy lived on, not just in the practices she taught, but in the hearts of those she had touched. She had become a beacon of light, proving that it's never too late to change, to heal, and to inspire. The end of a journey, the beginning of another. As Hoa neared the end of her life, she left behind a community transformed, a family inspired, and a world that had been made just a little brighter by her presence. Her story reminds us that even the smallest acts of mindfulness and compassion can ripple outward, creating waves of change that reach far beyond what we can see. And so, under the shade of a mango tree, Hoa's legacy continued to grow, a testament to the power of one person's journey to transform not just themselves, but the world around them.